Are you surprised by the evidence that's already coming out in the criminal trial?
No, I'm not surprised. I experienced some of those things. Witness violence.
Let's talk about the filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise, surprise, he's done horrible things.
The courtroom saga unraveling in Manhattan is nothing short of a seismic shift in the world of music, power, and privilege. Sean Diddy Combs, once the crown jewel of hip-hop royalty, now sits at the heart of a narrative so dark and twisted, it feels ripped from the pages of a crime thriller. For decades, Diddy symbolized success, a self-made mogul who danced his way to the top of the charts, dominated pop culture, and built an empire spanning music, fashion, and reality television. But behind the glitz and glamour lies a chilling story of manipulation, coercion, and a network of alleged criminal activity that has brought his empire to the brink of collapse.
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual about whom I wish to hear nothing after this trial is done.
This is not just the fall of a music icon, it's the unraveling of a carefully constructed legacy, one that prosecutors argue was built on a foundation of abuse and intimidation. The trial has revealed allegations of a criminal enterprise operating under Diddy's watch, a web of enablers and employees allegedly tasked with fulfilling his darkest, from orchestrated encounters with hired escorts to violent outbursts and alleged acts of revenge. The details emerging from the courtroom are as shocking as they are damning. This isn't just about one man's actions, this is about the culture of silence and complicity that allowed it all to happen. And as each day in court unfolds, the revelations grow more explosive, casting a harsh light on the man who once called himself the king of the world.
The centerpiece of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freak-offs. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and/or coerced her into doing these freak-offs. And we've talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something she felt.
One of the most chilling moments in the trial came with the testimony of Capricorn Clark, a former assistant whose account painted a disturbing picture of Diddy's alleged obsession with control. Clark described the harrowing night in December 2011 when Diddy, reportedly fueled by jealousy over R&B singer Cassie Ventura's rumored relationship with rapper Kid Cudi, forced her to accompany him on what prosecutors have described as a revenge mission. Armed with a gun, Diddy allegedly ordered Clark to get dressed and follow him to Cudi's Hollywood Hills home, a move she said left her fearing for her life. Although the rapper wasn't home that night, the incident didn't end there. The courtroom heard testimony linking Diddy to a string of violent retaliations, including the firebombing of Kid Cudi's Porsche just weeks later, an act prosecutors argue fits into a broader pattern of intimidation designed to silence and control anyone who crossed him. But the most devastating testimony has come from Cassie Ventura herself, whose detailed accounts of her 11-year relationship with Diddy have left courtroom observers stunned. Cassie testified about orchestrated events she referred to as freak-offs, intimate encounters allegedly arranged and overseen by Diddy, often involving hired male escorts and substances. These encounters, she claimed, were not only demeaning but meticulously recorded by Diddy, turning her private humiliation into a form of power he wielded over her. Cassie described feeling trapped in a cycle of psychological and physical abuse, recounting incidents where she said Diddy would lash out, both in private and in public. One particularly haunting moment came when surveillance footage was shown to the jury, depicting Diddy physically assaulting Cassie in a hotel room. The stark, irrefutable nature of the footage left the courtroom in stunned silence, a visual record of the allegations that have haunted Diddy for years.
Referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil Astroglide.
The trial has also brought to light a pattern of alleged retaliation and control that extended far beyond Cassie's relationship with Diddy. Testimony from former employees, including Mia, another assistant, detailed a culture of fear and complicity within Diddy's inner circle. Mia described how employees were coerced into facilitating his alleged criminal activities, from setting up freak-offs to covering up violent outbursts. She recounted how Diddy's influence extended into every aspect of her life, making it nearly impossible to leave. The defense has attempted to discredit her testimony by pointing to social media posts where she praised Diddy, but Mia countered by explaining the psychological toll of working under such conditions. Her testimony has added another layer to the prosecution's argument that Diddy's empire functioned as a criminal enterprise, with employees caught in a web of coercion and complicity.
So she testified, excuse me, that she was Diddy's ex-assistant. She said he her, sexually assaulted her in various ways multiple times. He exacted unbelievable violence against her, threatened her, one point allegedly threatened to take her phone and use anything on the phone.
The most recent revelations have only deepened the sense of urgency surrounding the trial. Evidence presented by prosecutors has linked Diddy's company directly to acts of violence, including the firebombing of Kid Cudi's car. Testimony from police investigators detailed how a vehicle registered to Diddy's business was spotted at the scene, adding weight to the allegations of a broader pattern of retaliation and intimidation. Meanwhile, legal experts have pointed to the potential implications of these revelations, suggesting that they could form the basis for racketeering charges that would redefine the scope of the case. The idea of Diddy's empire being labeled a criminal enterprise is a chilling prospect, one that underscores just how far-reaching the allegations against him have become.
Been afraid of coming forward. They've been afraid of what he could potentially do to them within the industry, what he could do to them professionally, maybe even personally. And so yes, it's been a dark secret they've held on to for a very, very long time.
What's clear is that this trial is about far more than Sean Diddy Combs. It's about the systems of power and privilege that allowed his alleged behavior to go unchecked for so long. It's about the culture of silence within the entertainment industry, where loyalty is often rewarded and dissent punished. And it's about the courage of those who have come forward, risking everything to tell their stories in the face of immense pressure. As the trial continues, the question is not just whether Diddy will be held accountable, but what this case will mean for an industry that has long been accused of turning a blind eye to abuse in the name of success. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the revelations are far from over. Stay tuned, because this story is far from finished, and the fallout could reshape the entertainment world as we know it.
He cornered me. And then he asked me, with his arm up, he asked me, "How you doing?" I'm kind of like, wow, this is, what the heck? Very uncomfortable. And then he rubbed his hand down my breast. He said, "If you need anything at all, you let me know."
As the courtroom drama continues to unfold, the scope of Sean Diddy Combs' trial is broadening, revealing layers of alleged criminal behavior and a network of complicity that no one could have fully anticipated. The focus is no longer solely on Diddy himself, but on the intricate machinery of his empire, an operation that prosecutors argue was rooted in manipulation, coercion, and most damningly, a sustained pattern of criminal activity. The trial has shifted gears, from accusations of isolated incidents to a broader narrative of systematic abuse and the troubling infrastructure that allegedly supported and concealed it. Each new revelation is peeling back the curtain on an empire that was, for decades, seen as a glittering beacon of success, but now appears riddled with darkness.
So Diddy, after the Cassie lawsuit, gets hit with a bunch of lawsuits, and then ultimately the raids, and then this criminal case.
The prosecution's latest bombshell centers on what they call the Combs Enterprise, a term that has sent shockwaves through the courtroom. It's a label that suggests Diddy's empire didn't just thrive on music and business acumen, but relied on a carefully orchestrated network of individuals tasked with executing and concealing his alleged misconduct. Prosecutors have argued that this network extended to personal assistants, security personnel, and even high-ranking executives, all of whom played roles in maintaining what they describe as a culture of silence and fear. The allegations are as detailed as they are disturbing. Testimony has revealed that employees allegedly arranged meetings, procured illicit substances, and facilitated the very freak-offs that have become a focal point of Cassie Ventura's harrowing accounts. One former staff member even admitted to booking flights for individuals allegedly involved in these orchestrated encounters, further tying the accusations to a broader pattern of behavior. But the prosecution's case isn't just focused on what happened behind closed doors. They've also introduced evidence of a pattern of public outbursts and intimidation tactics that Diddy allegedly used to solidify his dominance. One particularly shocking claim involves a confrontation at a luxury Beverly Hills restaurant in 2010, where Diddy is accused of physically attacking Cassie in full view of his entourage and other patrons. Witnesses have described how the music mogul's mood could shift in an instant, with his explosive temper leaving those around him walking on eggshells. Prosecutors argue that these public displays of power weren't just random outbursts, they were calculated moves to instill fear and reinforce his authority over those in his circle.
I'm sorry, I'm just really, I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck. During those years, you're still stuck 21 years later.
There's also the unsettling testimony about how Diddy allegedly used surveillance to keep tabs on those he viewed as threats. Employees have described a system in which private investigators and security staff were tasked with monitoring Cassie and others, tracking their movements, and reporting back to Diddy directly. Prosecutors have argued that this obsessive need for control extends into his business dealings as well, where rivals and even collaborators were reportedly subjected to similar forms of covert monitoring. This level of surveillance, combined with the testimonies about physical and emotional abuse, paints a picture of a man who sought to dominate every aspect of his personal and professional relationships.
They saw evidence in the case. They immediately honed in on racketeering, and they started saying, why is this racketeering with one guy? And they're charging this one guy. They had a real problem with that. They did not have a problem with the Mann Act. They found him guilty on the Mann Act, and they hung 6 to 6 on racketeering.
These revelations have sparked broader discussions about the complicity of those who benefited from Diddy's empire, even as they may have witnessed or suspected misconduct. Industry insiders are now facing questions about how much they knew and why they didn't act. Former employees who have testified in court admitted to staying silent out of fear of retaliation or losing their careers. But critics argue that this silence allowed Diddy to continue operating unchecked for years. The trial has become a rallying cry for accountability in the entertainment industry, with observers calling for systemic changes to ensure that no one, no matter how powerful, can exploit their position without consequences. But the implications of this trial extend far beyond the courtroom. The case has become a flashpoint for the entertainment industry, raising serious questions about who knew what and when. For years, whispers of Diddy's volatile behavior swirled in industry circles, but they were often dismissed as rumors or overshadowed by his undeniable success. Now, as the trial continues, those whispers are being revisited and new names are being dragged into the narrative. High-profile figures who were once seen as distant bystanders are being scrutinized for their connections to Diddy and his inner circle. Celebrities like Ye, Britney Spears, and Michael B. Jordan, whose names have surfaced in testimony, are now being viewed through a new lens, with observers questioning how close they were to the alleged misconduct and whether their reputations could suffer collateral damage. Even Kid Cudi, whose car was allegedly firebombed in a shocking act of retaliation, has found himself entangled in the fallout, his testimony serving as a chilling reminder of how far-reaching the consequences of Diddy's alleged actions may be.
The feds, Al Capone style, have not charged everything under the sun. They've charged 3 main charges: racketeering, trafficking, and the transport of a prostitute. And I'll tell you, I don't know about the racketeering charge. It's pretty sweeping. And I'll tell you what the general element.
Adding fuel to the fire are the revelations about Diddy's financial dealings, which prosecutors are now scrutinizing as part of their effort to build a case for racketeering charges. Evidence presented in court has linked Diddy's companies to payments made to individuals who later became key witnesses in the trial. These payments, allegedly disguised as legitimate business transactions, have raised suspicions of bribery and witness tampering. Prosecutors have also introduced documents showing that Diddy's financial empire was used to fund the very activities now under scrutiny, from luxury hotel bookings to private security teams tasked with protecting his secrets. This has led to speculation that federal agencies, including the FBI, may soon expand their investigation to include Diddy's business operations, potentially exposing a web of financial impropriety that could deepen the legal jeopardy he faces. Meanwhile, the defense has doubled down on its efforts to discredit the prosecution's narrative, painting Diddy as a flawed but fundamentally misunderstood figure. His lawyers have argued that the accusations are riddled with inconsistencies and driven by financial motives, pointing to settlements and social media posts as evidence that some accusers may have ulterior motives. But the sheer volume of evidence, combined with the emotional testimonies of multiple witnesses, has made it increasingly difficult for the defense to shift the narrative. Even their attempts to frame Diddy's actions as consensual or exaggerated have been met with skepticism as jurors grapple with the extent of the allegations and the power dynamics that underpin them.
How many people came through his orbit? How many people could this have happened to? And how did he get away with it for so long?
Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this trial is the sense that it represents only the surface of a much deeper problem within the entertainment industry. For years, Diddy was celebrated as a symbol of success, a mogul who broke barriers and redefined what it meant to be a global icon. But as testimony continues to reveal, his empire was allegedly built on a foundation of exploitation and control, with employees, romantic partners, and even rivals caught in a web of fear and dependency. The trial has become a referendum on the culture silence that has long protected powerful figures in the industry, raising urgent questions about accountability and reform.
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
And yet, as the trial progresses, it's clear that the stakes extend far beyond Diddy himself. The allegations have exposed a systemic failure to address abuse and misconduct within the industry, where unchecked power has often been allowed to flourish in the name of profit. Legal experts have warned that the fallout from this case could be far-reaching, potentially implicating others who enabled or benefited from Diddy's alleged actions. The whispers of additional investigations only add to the sense that this trial is the beginning of a much larger reckoning, one that could reshape the landscape of the entertainment world in ways we can't yet fully predict. And then there's the political dimension, an unexpected twist that has only added to the spectacle surrounding the trial. Former President Donald Trump's comments about a potential pardon for Diddy have sparked outrage and disbelief, with critics viewing it as yet another example of celebrity privilege and political interference. Trump's remarks have reignited debates about the intersection of power, wealth, and justice, raising uncomfortable questions about whether high-profile figures will ever be truly held accountable for their actions. While the possibility of a pardon remains speculative, the very suggestion has cast a shadow over the proceedings, leaving many to wonder whether justice can prevail in a system so deeply influenced by money and influence.
Dishonest, violent, horrible. A promiscuous swinger who lied to and cheated on multiple partners. Incredibly, that's how Sean Diddy Combs' own lawyers described the billionaire music mogul, currently facing serious trafficking charges in a New York court.
As the trial enters its next phase, the tension in the courtroom is palpable. The testimonies, evidence, and revelations have created a narrative that feels as much like a crime drama as a legal battle, with twists and turns that continue to captivate and horrify in equal measure. We are watching the dismantling of an empire in real time, a process that is as fascinating as it is unsettling. The questions now are not just about Diddy's guilt or innocence, but about the broader implications of this case for an industry and a culture that has long shielded its most powerful figures from scrutiny. What comes next could change everything. Will this trial mark the end of Sean Diddy Combs' reign as a cultural icon? Or will his influence and resources shield him from the consequences of his alleged actions? And what does this case mean for the future of accountability in the entertainment world? One thing is certain, the story is far from over, and the next chapter promises to be even more explosive. Let us know your thoughts, because this is a conversation we all need to have. Stay tuned, because the revelations are only just beginning.